Hey listeners, welcome to a new episode of Podcast Demastered. I'm your host Ethan Meyer, and I'm joined, as always, by my two very good friends, Wade and Chelsea. And this is episode 49 of the podcast. On today's episode, we're going to do another Real Talk, where we highlight a specific film and talk about, our first time watching it, what we like about it, maybe what we didn't like about it, some of the film's merits, interesting tidbits, the list goes on. So before we get into that, though, I want to remind the listeners that we have our 1-year anniversary show coming up, and we would like to hear from you, the listeners. So if anybody has any questions for any of the podcast members here, for myself or Wade or Chelsea, be sure to send those in. You can tweet at the podcast Twitter, you can email us, you can find us on social, you can check out our Discord and post them there. So any of those outlets will work great. And we'll have all that stuff in the show notes. And like I said, you can check out the podcast Twitter handle, the Instagram, Facebook. We pretty much exist in all those places. Send us any questions. It could be about the show. It could be about show, like episodes past. If you guys have anything you want to talk about, it could be about us. Be as personal as you want. Wade and Chelsea are pretty open, so they like that kind of stuff. And that it's like the first week of June. I think it's yeah. Chelsea's shaking her head yes. So she's my calendar over here. So yeah, we'd like to hear from you guys. So like I said, 1-year anniversary episode coming up. Send us any of your questions, and yeah, it should be a good time. On to today's episode. So last time we did a Real Talk, Chelsea picked Nosferatu, the classic film, and we kind of talked about that and dissected it a little bit and talked about its legacy and all those good things. So this time it was Wade's turn to pick a film, and he picked Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, which is the film that was directed by Tim Burton and what had starred Johnny Depp and Alan Rickman, the late Alan Rickman, and Helena Bonham Carter. So Wade, why don't you tell the listeners why you picked Sweeney Todd?
Well, I picked Sweeney Todd because I have loved this movie for such a long time, for a plethora of reasons, but because I really like Tim Burton. I like the dark, creepy aesthetic that he always has in everything he does, and the fact that he did a musical, it really interested me a lot. So back in 2007, when they're like, "Hey, this movie's coming out," and he's going to take on Sweeney Todd, I was just like, wow. Because I had heard of the musical, though to this day I still have never seen it, like the actual production of it.
Yeah.
I was so interested in finally getting to watch it, but then the cast came out and stuff, and I was like, well, here we go again. All the usual suspects.
Oh yeah, Tim Burton definitely has his crew.
He does. So I was like, okay, I'm sold. So I remember going out of town to see it because our theater, our little 3-house theater, did not get it. So we went out of town to watch it, sat through it, and just got out, and I was just like, whoa, that's intense. And it's one of my favorite musicals. I hope to watch it someday on stage, but we'll get there someday.
Yeah. I've never once seen the stage production of it. In fact, I've never seen like a professional like musical production. I've seen a Little Shop of Horrors, but it was through college, so it was like a college production. So it's like
I remember
amateur. It was good, but it wasn't like going to like the Fox or art.
Yeah, it's not quite the same.
Yeah, stuff like that. I remember I remember watching this film in theaters. I actually went with my sister because she's a huge Burton fan. She's a huge Johnny Depp fan. Um, and I was kind of skeptical of it because like I like some musicals because I grew up watching them with my mom, but it's not something that I seek out. Um, but knowing that it was Burton and knowing that it was Johnny Depp and that it was a musical, like all those things kind of were intriguing because I know Johnny Depp was like in a band in his youth, like some sort of like garage rock band. So I know he could, he has a voice, but I didn't know that he had that good of a voice. Like having watched the movie, I was like, wow, this is actually a lot better than I expected. I expected it to be a little grungier, a little grittier, a little rougher. But yeah, that was like a huge surprise. I mean, and like you said, the film has all the Burton traits. It's like that. It's the setting, so it's like very gothic. It's very dark, very contrasty, like black and gray, and then it's excessively gory. It kind of reminds me of if Sleepy Hollow was a musical. Like it kind of has like that same look.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Like two different cinematographers, but both those films are very similar in like tone and style and setting and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean I think I watched it twice in theaters, but I also worked at the theater, so it was free. So it's not like it was a big investment.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I haven't watched it in a few years. Like even knowing that we were getting ready to do this episode, I just kind of ran out of time to watch it again. But like I've seen it like half dozen times probably. And it's kind of it's a film it's better than it has any right to be, I would say. Like just kind of knowing like who's directing it. Tim Burton, no really experience in musicals or anything even remotely close to that like genre. And then, he's got his usual suspects like Wade was saying with Burton and Carter. And then you got Alan Rickman, like just the cast. Like you look at that and you're like, this is a musical, like with these guys. Like this is a very, and then like the, the concept, just like this murderous barber revenge story / love story. It just is such a strange culmination of a lot of different things, and it actually comes together like pretty well. I'm curious, Chelsea, you just recently watched it for the first time, right? So it's pretty fresh for you. What are your takeaways?
It is. And honestly, I don't remember this movie coming out at all. Like I remember probably over the years at this point hearing about it, but never been like, oh, I really need to watch this, or I've heard so many good things about it. So I definitely went into this just I kept an open mind, and I don't know, I have a lot to say, like almost a lot to unpack. Not that it's necessarily any hot takes or anything. It was just
start from the hottest and work your way down.
I mean, it was definitely a very interesting film and a very interesting musical. I'm not really a musical person per se. Like I've seen stage productions and I've watched some movie musicals here and there, and so some of them I like, some of them I really dislike. And I think that one thing I think a lot of musicals have is a very convoluted story. We'll just put it that way. Sometimes their storytelling can just get kind of just like pushed to the side, and it's all about the production and the songs. And I wouldn't say I like this film, but I appreciated what it did and how it presented itself. And I really think that I couldn't really think of a better director to do it than Tim Burton. Like I really think his style really helped to sell the film.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think if it wasn't Burton handling his style and his aesthetics, like Wade was talking about, and just the way he kind of presents an image and a visual, like I feel like it could have come across little cornier, a little cheesier.
Yes.
Because the film is a little, it's theatrical. It's very overly theatrical. But I think Burton kind of leans into that, and his like flourishes with his like style kind of helps make it seem less cheeseball. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it kind of comes across more earnest and a little bit more authentic. Yeah, but I'm also with you with like with musicals with like sometimes the plot is just there to service the next song, like like White Christmas. That's like one of my favorite Christmas movies, and it's also a musical. But like 3/4 of the songs have nothing to do with the plot, and they're kind of just they're just there as an excuse for the actors and the talent to show off their skill set, basically. Sweeney Todd, I think, does a really good job of transitioning to song in a very believable way.
Yes.
Because it kind of just, it's like there's a scene going and there's dialogue going, and then all of a sudden it kind of slowly develops into like a song, and then that kind of, and that goes where it goes, and then, next scene. And a lot of musicals, it's, you have the dialogue in the scene, and then it's a cut, and then like a song starts, but like there's a very smooth transition with a Sweeney Todd. Like even one of the scenes where he's giving Alan Rickman's character a shave, and then that turns into a song. Like that's just like a very like, and it's also just like a super tense moment in the film too, because this is the guy that he wants to fucking kill. And he's sitting there just giving him like the best shave of his life and singing about it. But it's also like you see like that ire and that hate and all that in Depp's character. Like that's just like all that culminates very well, and it services the plot and the story, but it's also like a good song. It's also a good just like musical number, so I think they did a really good job handling all those different like aspects to be a good musical.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I was actually surprised by the singing in the film, I would mention, because I was a little like, I'm really curious to see how well like Johnny Depp is and everyone else in this. I'm really curious. And I was like, okay. Also, I feel like those songs are pretty tough for them. It's a lot. Like, they're really fast. It's really impressive to...
The music in this musical is not like normal. It's not big poppy stuff. Yeah. It modulates, it changes. The rhythms are not the same. It's hard music.
Yeah.
It is. So, and which is one of the things that caught my ear when I first watched it. Because you feel like this chord is going to go here. No, we're out of the ballpark already, and it's like the third chord. It messes with your ear, and it makes you want to keep listening to see what happens next. Even like when they bring up old melodies and stuff like later, those are also changed too.
Yeah.
So it messes with you a lot.
Yeah, when I was doing some trying to find some like interesting like fun facts or trivia notes and stuff like that for the film, there was an article where it was talking about Carter's character. Oh God, I forget her name. She makes the pies or whatever.
Mrs. Lovett.
Mrs. Lovett, that's right. She was talking about that when she would rehearse and practice her lines and the songs and all that stuff. Since her character, like in one of the scenes, she's actually like baking while singing. When she's rehearsing, she was like rehearsing, like doing all those physical motions, because a lot of those tie into like the tempo of the song, and it helps her like keep on, on the right pace, basically. And that's kind of just like another way that showcases why it's a good, like film musical, because visually they use a lot of like character actions and utilization of props and motion to help with that, like Wade was saying, like some of the more eccentric music, because it's not like some big, it's not like some show-stopping West Side Story, hoopla. Like, it's not that that's bad. It's just not, it's not that. Like Wade was saying, it's a little bit more off kilter, but it's kind of servicing the character and the story because it's also kind of just a offbeat, off kilter kind of story. It's just it helps, the music helps service the story, and the tone of everything being a little weird.
Yeah, and I actually really did like those scenes. Like, I mean, most of the scenes with the singing and like the actions, like with her baking the pies and just even, the shaving and everything. And I think it's really cool that they, hitting all those beats, and it makes the movie more dynamic. And it's also not just a bunch of dancing, because that really would make it really, really odd to let's just all break out and just start.
Oh, but how amazing would it be?
Dancing down the street or something.
There's like 40 extras that come in off the dock, bunch of sailors, and they're all just like doing backflips and stuff. And yeah.
It becomes a really silly film.
That's what the film's missing right there. That's 10 out of 10 right there.
It's a whole different experience.
Wade, what else are some of your favorite things about the film aside from the music and like the Burton touch?
So when this film came out, it wasn't like too long after Borat came out. So when Sasha Baron Cohen was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be in this movie," and I was like, "What?" Like, because this, he'd only done Borat, like, majorly, so any other skills he had was very much unknown, but then he plays the Italian barber, the fake Italian barber, and it's, like...
Amazing.
Like, I love that scene when they're doing, like, the shave-off.
Yeah.
I really love that scene so much. Just, you hear him sing with this awful thick fake Italian accent.
Mm-hmm.
It's just glorious.
Yeah, Sasha Baron Cohen is like very like under the radar a fantastic actor. He is, yeah.
Yes.
Like he is very good in a lot of stuff, and but he's also like kind of guy that just loves doing like really odd books. He also did The Dictator, like really screwball, like dumb nonsense that you can't take him seriously, but then you see him in something like Hugo. Or what's that most recent one he did? That Aaron Sorkin film, The Trial of the Chicago 7 or something. Like it's like a dramatic piece.
That's
right. Like the dude does some killer stuff. So, but yeah, for that time, 2007, like fresh off Borat, and you're like, this dude's gonna be in a like a gothic musical with Johnny Depp. Like, what the fuck am I watching? Sign me up.
but like also like at the end of the movie when everything starts coming to a head, and all of the little plots start to really converge around like one thing, and then you see everything just go downhill really fast. Like just getting to that ending scene, I remember leaving there going, "Oh my god!" Like, wow.
Yeah.
It sucks for everybody.
Yeah, the pacing in the film definitely towards that like the third act is kind of just like, all right, this roller coaster needs to end, so it's just straight down.
Yes.
Like the last like half an hour is just like, all right, we got to tie all this up. Like, let's get it over with.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need this to be some 3-hour long affair. Let's get it over with. And that's another thing. I feel like the film it didn't overstay its welcome. It wasn't unnecessarily long. Mm-hmm. Like I think they kind of just, got across what they needed to and didn't have any padding. There wasn't a lot of superfluous scenes. Like, it's a pretty concise film, for a musical, because a lot of musicals, like with the musical numbers, it kind of pads out a lot of things, and then you're like, all right, I just watched a 5-minute show number, now let's actually get back to the plot, and they have to like make up for lost time.
Right. And the music, like the songs are not very long.
No.
And the plot like moves inside of the songs too. And I don't think it ever goes from one song straight into another song. You have time to like process things between.
I was gonna say a lot of like the main like character beats and like story beats are kind of delivered to you in those songs.
Yes.
So it's one of those things where it's just like, if you're the kind of person when you watch a musical and the music number starts and that's when you like leave the room to go to the bathroom or whatever, you're gonna miss out on a lot of shit on this movie. So
For real, yeah.
Did you guys have like a favorite scene or anything, Chelsea? Since you watched it like just this week, is there anything that was like a standout scene for you, or is one of your hot takes where it's just like I don't like any of the scenes?
No, I mean, if I'm gonna say like something I don't like, my hot take would, if it's not really a hot take, it's like I don't like the super slasher aspect of it with all like let's have all this blood just pouring on the screen. It's not that I'm squeamish of blood or anything. It's just like
It's very gratuitous.
And that's the point where I'm like, okay, this movie is almost laughable for me because we're just going overkill for this. And I'm like, please stop, because you had a pretty good, decent movie until I just was like, cover the screen with all this blood.
Yeah. That's why it was so reminiscent to me for Sleepy Hollow. If you've seen Sleepy Hollow, there's like a scene in that film where he's performing like an autopsy, on a corpse. And there's just like blood spraying out. Like he'll make like the tiniest incision, and then like a gallon of blood will spray all over Johnny Depp's face. And I'm like, this is a cadaver. Like
I don't think corpses work that way.
Yeah, and it's just Burton doing his thing. He's just like, I got a garden hose full of blood. I'm just gonna spray it all over this actor, and he pokes the tiniest hole. And Sweeney Todd's the same way. Like he really leans into it. He must have stock in like corn syrup or something.
Apparently, yeah.
Wade, what about you? Do you have like a favorite scene or anything?
Well, like the barber duel is great. I think I've got to go with that one. Oh no, the song where Mrs. Lovett is coming up with the idea to turn people into her meat pies. That song, that whole thing where they're like dancing around but like looking out the window and like, look at that person, like they'd be great in this kind of pie. And
they're like people watching
their, like, procession and profession and stuff.
Making
they're like,
you.
Yeah, they're like people watching and developing like a cookbook.
I think that might really be my most favorite part.
Because we didn't touch on it, but this film definitely has like, it's like a dark comedy too, like so it's got scenes like that where like if you just saw it in writing, you're like, wow, this is fucking gross and creepy, but like seeing it in action, you're like, oh, this is amusing. Like it's like oddly, like, I don't know, it doesn't it's not as sinister just because of the way it's being delivered, I guess. Like it's almost laughable and goofy,
Like it has its like serious tense moments.
Yeah.
But they're very sudden. Yeah. Like they don't hold on for forever. It's like, oh my gosh, and then it's over, and then you move on past it.
Yeah.
The songs are very catchy, and it's like, oh, I kind of like this, and I'm like, song is so demented. I can't really like this.
Yeah. It was also
reflects poorly upon me.
This is one of those films. One of the few musicals where I would actually like listen to the soundtrack. Like I had the soundtrack and like I would listen to it in my car, like on my way to work or whatever. Like I actually really liked the songs and the score. Like it was just one of those few musical soundtracks that I would actually want to listen to outside of the film. Like, do you guys have any favorite characters?
Mrs. Lovett.
Yeah.
Do you all know who originally played Mrs. Lovett in the original Broadway show?
I do not.
No.
I don't think you're going to believe me, but it was Angela Lansbury.
What? Really?
Wow.
And she won a Tony for it too. You think of like little Angela Lansbury like baking people into pies and just, enjoying it.
I mean, kind of. She did Murder, She Wrote. She's fucking, she's she can get dark. She has that like she has that face that's just like, oh, that's like, a really sweet like grandma that, I'll go up and she'll bake me cookies, but then like it's like a Hansel and Gretel thing. You like get in that door and she's like baking your ass into a pie. Like that's Angela Lansbury. Like she comes across all sweet and innocent.
She knows what she's doing.
She knows what she's doing. I was actually really surprised with Alan Rickman. Like the character on its own is definitely like something that he's suited for, just like all of his traits. But the singing, what I was not expecting,
Mm-hmm.
and they did, like, everyone did really well. And in fact, talking about the casting, I was reading a thing when Burton first took on the project. Stephen Sondheim, who is the composer for for Sweeney Todd, he said that if Tim Burton was going to do the film, that he wanted to have final say on all casting decisions, and he didn't like the idea of Johnny Depp being the lead because he, like I thought his voice would be too dirty, too grungy, and then like when Johnny Depp auditioned for it and did like a full like a singing of one of the songs or whatever, Sondheim's like, oh, okay, this dude's got like amazing range, let's put him in. And then also with Sasha Baron Cohen, when he auditioned, he sang the entire Fiddler on the Roof, like all of it, for his audition.
Okay, that sounds right.
Like, I didn't see anything about Carter or Rickman, so I'm very curious. Like, I know why Carter got in it.
Yeah, that was not terribly difficult.
Yeah, that's not terribly hard to decipher. But like,
not
Alan,
to like.
Well, she still had to audition. I read the thing that he was actually Sondheim was actually really impressed with her. So
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, they all got to audition. They got to make it look good on paper. But but no, like she was the only one that I wasn't afraid of for like singing. Like I expected her to be good at it. It was the others that Johnny Depp and Alan Rickman and Sasha, where I was just like, are you shitting me? Like they're gonna be singing in this movie? Like Helena just kind of has like a very unique voice where I was expecting it to be amazing. I wasn't expecting the other three to be as good as they were.
Fair. Well, like hearing Alan Rickman sing and Johnny Depp sing, like, it was just. I mean, Johnny Depp's voice is very Johnny Depp, like even when he's singing. But like, I don't know, hearing him sing for the first time it was crazy.
Yeah, same with Rickman, because like Rickman only has like one level for his voice. You know what I mean? Like he talks the exact same way when he's happy or mad. Like it's just like that very just direct kind of low tone kind of grumble, So I'm just like, there's no way this dude has the range to sing. Like there's just no way. And yeah, he does. So it worked out.
it was funny watching this movie after watching, of course, Harry Potter. I'm like, this is like a really weird Harry Potter reunion of this like weird horror multiverse of Harry Potter. There's a lot of people from Harry Potter in this movie.
This came out before Deathly Hallows Part 1 came out. So, like, the one kid who was, like, young Grindelwald.
Yes.
Like, we saw him in this, and then, like, he appeared later in Harry Potter, and we're like,
Yeah, because...
But he did do a good job in this film, so that was good.
Yeah, because you had Carter, you had Rickman, you had... I always forget the actor's name, but the guy who plays...
Just call him Wormtail.
Yeah, the guy who plays Pettigrew. He's like one of those British actors that's like in everything. He's like that guy. You don't know his name, but he's like you see him in like he's always like not quite an extra, but he's not a lead either. It's
always a sidekick.
He's always just like some side character that has like one like really awesome scene. You're just like, who the fuck is this guy? It's just like I never remember his name. I'm pretty sure he was in Spencer, the Kristen Stewart film that just came out. I'm pretty sure he was in that too.
He might have been. I honestly don't remember because, yeah.
They were all
he'll just
cleaned up.
always, like, get in the background of a scene and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, it's him.
Yeah, I think they polished him up for that film, didn't make him look as dastardly. But yeah, I mean,
And then you have young and, like, adult Grindelwald and, everything.
Yep. So, Chelsea, since you're the one that's seen it the most recently, would you recommend it to other people if they haven't seen it?
I would say yes. I think it's worth a watch just once. Especially for those who are curious. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say you must watch this film a million times, but I think it's definitely a very unique film, a unique musical style that many people I don't think are as used to or familiar with. And it's a well done Tim Burton film. So that's why I said yes. I think I would recommend people just try to watch it once.
I think this is the kind of musical that's for people who don't like musicals. Because I think people, when they think musical, have like a certain film in their head, and I don't think Sweeney Todd would fit that molding, if that makes sense. When you think musicals, you're thinking like Singing in the Rain and The Sound of Music and West Side Story and stuff like that.
Very much.
And I think Sweeney Todd is kind of like the anti-musical musical. So it's for people, that like Chelsea here, who doesn't like musicals. I think it's like the perfect film for, not saying you refuse to watch them, because you obviously have watched them. It's just,
I don't love musicals, but yes, it was.
But I think it's definitely more enjoyable for those folks that just either just have like a negative connotation towards musicals. Like I wouldn't recommend someone watch if they don't like musicals. I wouldn't recommend someone watch like Les Mis, but I would recommend them watch Sweeney Todd. If that makes sense. Wade, since you do like musicals, you and I are both like we watch a lot of them. We really like musicals. Where would this rank? You don't have to give me like an exact number, but is it like a top 5, like a top 10? Where would you put it on your in your hierarchy for musicals?
Probably top 10.
Yeah.
For being so unique.
Yeah. I would probably put it
pretty close to top 5. It's up there. It's like top 10, but it's up there.
Yeah, I was gonna say it would probably be, if not top 5, like maybe like 6, like right on that threshold, just because it is like, it's like sort of campy, it's fun. It's like I said, it's one of those few musicals that I actually bought the soundtrack and would listen to it. I don't do that for a lot of musicals. I'm not listening to The King and I in my car while I'm driving to work.
I like The King and I.
No, yeah, I'm saying, yeah, I do too. But it's not my favorite Rodgers and Hammerstein film. We'll do a podcast on musicals when Chelsea's gone.
Just because I don't love musicals doesn't mean I haven't seen any or have opinions.
All right, fair. We'll save it when you get back.
Okay.
But yeah, so I don't know. You guys have any other? Chelsea, you have anything else you want to talk about? I know, like I said, since you've watched it the most recently, and you said you had some takeaways. Was there anything else you wanted to get in there?
I think the only thing I was going to add was I think what you guys were saying earlier about how, like, it really seems to move, the story along and doesn't stay too long. And I think that specifically the length of this film is actually really nice, because it's not one of those musicals that's like 2.5 hours, 3 hours long.
Yeah.
It's just under 2 hours, so doesn't feel like you're wasted your life away watching a musical.
Yeah, it's got a short running time, and like Wade and I kind of touched on, the pacing is so quick, so concise that it doesn't even feel, you know, you don't really register that runtime. You know, it kind of goes by pretty fast. It's a very quick watch. Like, if there's not a clock in your room and you just turn it on, you feel like you just watched something that was like 45 minutes. Like, it's a very... And it's mostly because, like, even the scenes themselves don't really linger. Like Wade was saying, the songs aren't super long. Like, nothing about it, like, feels padded out. You know, it's just there long enough to get the point across and move on. Like, it's not overindulgent at all. I guess it's overindulgent with blood, but but nothing else. But nothing else, yeah.
No.
But yeah, I don't know. I would recommend people watch it. I think it's, if anything, like I said, it's a good musical for people who may not like them, and two, it's also just it's just not only like an interesting story, but it's also just interesting seeing these actors do these performances, like seeing a Johnny Depp or an Alan Rickman or you know, whoever, like doing these like musical numbers. You know, like it just kind of helps showcase their like diverse skill set. So if anything, that's also just worth a watch. You know, just to see that stuff showcased. So, Wade, what about you? You got anything else to add to it? This is your pick.
It's a good time. It's not a waste of time or money. Go watch it. Go enjoy the music. Yeah,
I mean, if anything, you can probably just stream the soundtrack, and if the soundtrack hits with you, then check the film out. You know, like I said, it is just some good music just to listen to. You know, if you kind of engage with it that way and see if it takes off.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think we said all there is to say about Sweeney Todd. So yeah, I would say the consensus is go check it out if you haven't. And Chelsea, why don't you take us out?
Yes. So thanks everyone for listening to this week's episode, our special Real Talk episode about Sweeney Todd. Let us know on our social medias if you've watched Sweeney Todd and what you think of it. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at PodDemastered. You can also email us at demasteredpodcast@gmail.com. We also have a Discord where you can have a whole discussion with us about this movie or about anything, other films, games, anything like that. The link for our Discord is in the link to this episode. And please be sure to, like and subscribe wherever you listen to this podcast. And don't forget to send us any questions for our special Q&A 1-year anniversary episode. And thanks again for listening to this week's episode, and we hope you tune in next week. See ya.
See ya.